You're listening to Popstar Conversations, taking you inside with your favorite musical artists.
Chuck and I are sitting here with one of the big talents in rock music, Billie Joe Armstrong of Green Day. Welcome to the show.
Billie Joe, it's so great to see you here. Thanks for coming.
Why did you decide to release 3 albums in a row?
Well, the original intention wasn't to put out 3 albums. It was just to do just one album, writing one song at a time. And I think I was just enjoying the process of writing a lot because I think it was a departure from our last 2 records that we did. So, and just kind of wanted to do something that was more stripped down and kind of back to basics and more classic kind of Green Day sounding from years past. So it was, but then the songs just kept coming, and we noticed that it started going in 3 different kind of directions. And one was a classic Green Day sound, and the other was more of a garage rock kind of party sound, and the other was sort of more of a reflection kind of epic sound. So, and the songs just kept coming, and so we just decided, let's just do what if we did like a 3-album trilogy? And we thought that was, because doing a double album or a triple album, we thought it just didn't really fit the time, or meaning this era of music. So we just decided to, it was like Green Day Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. So instead of that, since we have a drummer named Trey, we'd put all of our faces on the cover, and it ended up being something kind of fun.
The artwork for the albums, they have 3 individual headshots. Why were the eyes crossed out?
Well, originally I just took an iPhone and I took pictures of the 3 of us when we had the original idea, and then I just decided, I X'd out the eyes, not really knowing. And then our art, the guy who does our art direction, Chris Bilheimer, he liked the X's on the eyes, and I don't know, somehow they just seem like that. It's like, I think it matches also. There's a song called X Kid that's on the record, and it sort of it kind of matches with that as a theme also.
There was a line in that song that said Hollywood is dead and gone. What were you actually referring to?
Well, that song is about a friend of mine that moved to Hollywood to try to sort of make it or whatever, and he was a dear friend of mine, and he ended up committing suicide. So and he could never really, he never grew past really kind of a 14-year-old attitude approach to life. So it was sort of a blessing of his, but then it eventually just was a curse that he couldn't really shake. Not to be a downer or anything like that, but no one goes to Hollywood to make it, and people that go down there, they don't really even call it Hollywood. They're not supposed to anyway. But it's kind of like an ex-kid. It's almost like an ex-wife or ex. It's so I kind of think of it as like, I'm not real. It's like, how do you become a man? Well, it's like I don't feel like a man. I feel like an ex-kid or something.
There seems to be a theme running through these albums. Was that your intent?
That wasn't the intention. Wasn't to make a concept record. There is sort of a concept to this in putting the 3 albums. I think that's I think there's just a big statement in putting out 3 albums with us, just because it's just. I think right now people are so addicted to just the single, and I think that making an album is like a lost art form. And for us, that's what we come from, is making albums. And our favorite bands made great albums. And so, and I think maybe in the tradition of something like Exile on Main Street and making something that feels really classic, for Green Day, that's what we wanted to achieve.
There was a tradition in the 60s of releasing 2 records a year. Was that your intention?
Yeah, well, I think, once every 6 months or something like that. I think the first 3 Beatle albums they burned through those in just a year and a half or something like that. So I think for us, it's, it was, we just kept writing songs, and that was the main thing, is that we were enjoying ourselves. We were having fun, and we wanted to make a fun record. We wanted to make something that rocked really hard and partied really hard and had a lot of meaning behind it and a lot of soul. So, and hopefully we achieved that.
Since your last 2 records, were you guys looking to transform into a new creative direction?
Yeah, I think so. I think we needed to. It was time. I think that the era of American Idiot and 21st Century Breakdown bookends each other, and for us, it was time for a change and start of a new era. So, in order to do that, you just start with one simple song at a time, and then. But it's interesting because once you go, it's like we did bring things into a simple, more of a simplistic kind of way, and where like less is more. But we made 3 albums and ended up becoming epic anyway, to a certain extent, So I think it's just kind of in our DNA to make records that are just kind of like, surprise the hell out of everybody, and you could tell that we had a lot of fun making it. You can hear it inside the record.
I want to ask you, from your perspective, what do you think of the social and political state of affairs in the United States right now?
Well, I think America is in a state of transition right now still. There is sort of a movement that's beginning to happen, and I don't know if you heard the song 99 Revolutions, and I think that song sort of represents the dying of working class and middle class people in America, and how the rich should be taxed, and how healthcare should be free for everyone. And I think it does something. If you're not worrying about certain bills and being sick and things like that, and the government tries to take a little bit more care of its citizens, then I think you're able to like a small business owner, or starting your own business and being more independent, and not just sort of be another person that works for Walmart.
And does Billie Joe have any solutions?
No, I just have complaints, really. And I have hope, I hope that, that my kids go to college, and then when they get out of college, they're able to find a job. Because I think that's one thing that's a big problem in America, is that, kids end up paying or going into debt because of the costs of going, hitting college, and then they, end up moving back home with their parents, and they're young adults. They're 23 years old, 24 years old. Who wants to live with their parents when they're that age? I mean, I'd love to have my children, but I don't know what their future is going to be like after they hit that coming of age point.
There's a single on the first album, Kill the DJ. It really stood out. What was your inspiration for that?
We wrote Kill the DJ because Mike really wanted to do like a 4 on the floor type of song that was maybe influenced by like Blondie, Heart of Glass, or Emotional Rescue, or something like that by the Stones, which was really and it was a big undertaking. So I was just trying to think of how a Green Day approach something like a dance song. So and the irony is it's a dance song, but it also says kill the DJ. And I think it has a little bit of sort of a culture. I don't know. It's like, without sounding pompous or anything like that, it has like social references too. So it's sort of walking through this sort of abyss of culture wars and just being fucked up on pills and alcohol at the same time, and maybe kind of dancing through it.
It sounds like it's in the vein of the British band, The Clash.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got kind of a Radio Clash kind of vibe. I think it's got a very much like a European vibe to it, but maybe a New York City kind of flavor to it. Like a club, something like played in the club. But I think Green Day's always had a groove. We just haven't done that kind of groove. I mean, with songs like When I Come Around and Brain Stew and Boulevard of Broken Dreams. those have always been kind of like a songs with the drums are set to a groove, and then but this is just like it's actual dance music.
What DJ are you trying to kill?
No, there's no one in particular. That's not a literal. It's just more when you hear static on the radio, or if you hear just commercialism that you might hear on radio and or television, or things like the 700 Club. It's sort of that static, that noise where you just are trying to find maybe a little bit of peace of mind and maybe your own individualism or something, without someone shoving some kind of meaningless message down your throat. It could be political too. I mean, we've got like Bill Maher, who's a left-wing sort of like a talking head, a pundit, talk show host, and then we've got Bill O'Reilly, who's on the other side. And so it's just sort of getting fed that information, and then it's like these guys turn into godheads, and you get tired of hearing the same old bullshit from them. So just trying to find your own opinion through it.
There's a song called Fuck Time. It's on your second album. It sounds like you guys are really having a good time with that song.
Yeah, I think Fuck Time has something in common with like sort of, it's very danceable and it's just fun. It's a fun song. It's like a big stupid song. It's like wop babaloo bapa wop bamboo, it's in the tradition of Little Richard and things like that. But instead of sugarcoating it, we just said, it's fuck time. So it's a fun song, and our intention was never for that to even be on the record, because we do that alter ego band, Foxborough Hot Tubs. So, but we listened to it. The more we listened to it, we realized how catchy it was, and we're like, well, and that almost started the direction, I think, looking in hindsight, of where Dose was going. So that's and it pretty much kicks off the second album. So.
The song Amy on your second album, are you paying tribute to Amy Winehouse?
When you go through Dose and it's kind of brings you through the hell of the party, and then there's repercussions sometimes to partying and in addiction and things like that. And I think it's just more. It's kind of more like paying my condolences to somebody that was such a huge talent, and she sort of brought, and this young woman brought old soul music to a modern era, and I think that's the thing that's a big thing that when kids don't know the roots of music, or whether it's punk rock or soul music or rock and roll in general, sometimes there's a person that comes along that has a record collection and has that vibe and knows where music comes from, and I think it was a big loss, a colossal loss when she died, and so it just made me sad, and I wrote a song that was, I don't know, just like I said, just kind of like sending flowers to the family or something.
Why did you select Oh Love as your first single?
There was a lot to choose from. There's a lot of songs that you liked, and it took a lot of thinking, because we were thinking Kill the DJ, we were thinking Oh Love. That was the main two we were thinking about for the first single. So, but I don't know, Oh Love, there's got this tension to it. That we thought we've never really approached a single like that before, or a song like that before, and where it's like a ballad, but it's kind of it's got so much power behind it. It's more almost reminiscent of like a Queen meets AC/DC type of song. So and it's just got a lyric that kind of pulls at your heartstrings a little bit, and keeps your heart, and it's very soulful, and so that's why we chose it. And it seemed like it was really a lot of women that we played it for were really kind of liking that song a lot. So I don't know, ladies first.
Were there any particular artists that have inspired you for these 3 records?
We're based on tradition. in the same way that Amy Winehouse was based in tradition. I think we write tunes, we write melodies, and we do it in a way that rocks really hard. So it's whether it's the Beatles or or the Who, or late 70s punk rock from England, or the Ramones, or glam from like early 70s, like Bowie or something like that, or some new wave or garage rock music, nuggets and things like that. I mean, we're it's all over the place. So I don't know, it's kind of a rock and roll collage.
And what variations of rock would be on these 3 records?
I would say that Uno is more of a power pop record, and I would say Dos is more of a garage rock party record, and then Trey would be the sort of more the Reflection, the Hangover, and but on an epic level.
On another note, how did your Broadway musical come about?
The musical was one of the what band or any artist gets their own musical or a film, or I think it's something that happened really organically, and we talked to Michael Mayer. He really wanted to do a production out of it, a stage production out of it, and we were open to the idea, and we started talking about it, and then we went and sat in on some rehearsals, and we were blown away by what we saw. I mean, he just said, keep going. And then it just kept getting better and better and better until, it's like, now it's going to hit Europe. It just did a tour of America. It was on Broadway. It just keeps on going. And, now they're thinking about turning it into a film.
That must have really been different. But how did you enjoy working on Broadway?
Oh, it was great. It was an amazing experience. I loved it. I loved being around. I think it was very inspired. I was very inspired by all of the talent that was around, because those were a lot of the people that were in the musical are all record collectors and love music, and they're musicians in their own right and artists in their own right. And so I think being around that energy, I would every day I would be in my apartment that I was staying at in New York, and then I would be and so I would do demos and write little songs, and then at night I would go and do the theater production and play St. Jimmy and play this lunatic on stage, and I did that every single day, and that was so it was a good experience.
And for your Broadway show, how many songs did you have to compose?
Yeah. I mean, one day you look back and you came up with 70 songs or something. So, and I think that's what's really in the new record is like a feeling of, the walls and the streets of New York, and also the beach and the ocean at the same time. So, it's kind of I don't know. It's like what if the Beach Boys were a New York band or something like that? Or
Listen, I heard you had this huge guitar collection. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Of guitars, I've got a lot of Les Paul Juniors. I'm really into Les Paul Juniors, and I have my own model that came out that Gibson put out, and I'm putting out another one that's a TV color one, and it's got like a kind of my own little signature on it. So that's coming out. So I love Les Paul Juniors. That's my main. I love P90s. They're really punchy sounding, and then especially since we got a second guitar player with Jason White, and he was playing also, I think it made the sound broader with sonically with him playing more of a like Les Paul and Les Paul Jr. and my Les Paul Jr. I think sonically things kind of got bigger.
Billie Joe, it was an incredible pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you again for listening to Popstar Conversations. Be sure to click the subscribe button below and hit the red bell so that you'll be notified of our next exclusive interview.
Thank you for listening to Popstar Conversations. Please join us again for another conversation with your favorite musical artist.